Back to Basics Part 1. The mud, the stuff of creation, viewed from the creativity perspective. The journey of exploration into our creativity centered on answering the question, is there a way to view creation that no matter what a person believes, they can have some type of experience of that belief, such that they can point to that experience as the proof of what they believe is true? And its corollary, was there a way to view creation that would support such a personal and subjective experiences as true? Answering these questions resulted in an exploration of that from which our creative thoughts arise. That in turn required a deeper look at the relationship of energy and consciousness, and to explore the mud or the stuff of creation out of which all creation arises. Here we need to remember the focus of this recording is directed at empowering our creativity and our creative imagination, and uses the creativity perspective. Some of the concepts presented are analogies and serve as pedagogical purposes. One should not assume they are exactly the way creation works, but are effective for our creativity and our creations. Although these concepts may be used literally in some situations, you are encouraged to see them used symbolically. It was observed within the creativity perspective, at the simplest level, our thoughts can be seen as simply our mind characterizing, describing, or otherwise somehow explaining the energy we perceive at some level of our being. Whether that thought is experienced as an idea, an image, a vision, or an awareness of knowing something without being able to explain what is known doesn't matter. The thought is simply our mind playing with the energy we experience. In this regard, thoughts are simply our consciousness at play with the energy our consciousness experiences. It became clear that our creative thoughts arose from the interaction of our consciousness and the energy we experience. This realization required two deeper explorations. One was a deeper exploration of the nature of energy and how the energy was perceived to generate thoughts. The second was a deeper exploration of consciousness and its role in the formation of thought. The mind's characterization of the energy we sense into thoughts is through our creative imagination. Our creative imagination bases its characterization on what we think, believe, the experiences we have had in this and previous existences, our current environment, how we have focused our attention and awareness, and our underlying intention which we hold with some passion, desire, or with the will to make happen. In general, for the normal human experience of our creativity, we need to explore no deeper than what has just been said to understand the origin of our thoughts. That is, thoughts arise from what we feel at any level within our being as a result of the energy we experience. As discussed in the video Creativity Machine, the human being can be seen to function automatically as a creativity machine. We are continually creating a response to what we experience. But to become a conscious creator and deal with creating new creations not previously experienced, we must move past the machine-like automatic function. As a starting point, it is to understand the deeper relationship between energy and consciousness. The starting point for this discussion is asking and looking at what is underlying all of creation. From where does creation arise? Mystics have talked about all of creation arising out of a no-thing-ness, or a realm of or state of no form. But I did not find they said anything about what this no-thingness is or may actually be. What I perceived from the mystics is that they implied it was beyond knowable, which of course makes sense given the limited perception of the human mind and the vastness of creation. However, many mystics do say that consciousness is seen as underlying all of creation. Within this understanding that consciousness is seen to underlie creation is an implicit assumption that all creation arises out of consciousness. My personal observations from the journey of exploration of our creativity is that consciousness underlies all of creation and awareness is fundamental to consciousness. That is, consciousness arises from awareness as the awareness begins to identify and define itself. Relative to our awareness, it can be seen as the fragment of a larger awareness underlying creation. Relative to this larger awareness, it is like our awareness is one of the cells of our human body. Our body is composed of many cells, each individually doing its own thing. Each is like a stem cell taking its form from its environment for its desired function, and each cell is needed for the whole. The importance of our unique individual subjective perspective to the whole cannot be understated. Yet creation is incomplete without the uniqueness of each and every one of us, much like a piano. A piano is not a piano and is incomplete if one of its unique 88 keys is missing. Relative to our awareness, observation suggests we are a unique, individualized aspect of the creative essence of creation with a unique and subjective perception of creation. We each have a unique offering to give or bring into creation. We each are on a solo journey of discovery and exploration of ourselves to experience the depth and breadth of who and what we really are. We each take this journey of discovery and exploration in our own unique way, and any other who enters our life is only there to give us an experience to discover what lies within our own being. Paradoxically, one can experience themselves as a part of the whole infinite consciousness within creation. Yet still, it is an independent awareness which has the option and free will to explore the true depth and breadth of one's own uniqueness. Whatever perspective one takes, there is an interdependence between the individual aspects of the creative essence, in that it is through the interactions with each other that opens us to exploring the depth and breadth of one's being. We cannot explore the depth and breadth of who we are unless we have something or someone to cause a response to arise within our being. Moving to energy, what we call energy has been seen by both scientists and many mystics underlying all of creation. Everything within physical creation is seen as requiring or running on energy. Without a flow of energy, there is no animation and nothing happens. Everything we experience, no matter what it is, arises as a result of a flow of energy. Without the movement a flow of energy provides, there is nothing to observe. All physical creation is composed of energy. Under the correct conditions, it has been observed energy can be converted to mass and mass converted to energy. In essence, we are like fish swimming in a sea of energy, and some of the energy has been solidified as objects. If you wish, look at creation as a sea of energy, but consider the energy to be like water. Then imagine within the water chunks of ice floating around. The chunks of ice are made of the same stuff as water, it's just solidified. So too creation, a sea of energy with chunks of, quote, frozen energy, which we call mass. Additionally, observation has been that all communication is energy-based. All flows of energy carry information. If nothing else, the flow of energy can be traced back to where it originated and can tell us something about its source. With the proper antenna and receiver, or their equivalent, and the proper converting device, the information carried by the energy can be understood. Probably everyone is familiar with the radio waves and tuning a receiver to pick up a particular station's broadcast to hear music or some type of programming. As the human, we are sensitive to the energy we sense. The human mind and its creative imagination is the equivalent of that radio receiver. It can be tuned, and extraction of the information in that energy we sense within our being and translated that energy into thoughts, images, and the like. Here it can be noted, it can be said, with the information within the flow, each flow of energy is a form of consciousness. In our mind, perceiving a communication from some being or entity of which it is not familiar, and actually it's receiving an energy transmission. But the human mind normally sees communication occurring between individuals or entities, not as energy transmission. Of course, there are those that routinely talk about having received a download of information, which is nothing more than an energy transmission to which one is receptive. As far as we know, creation is quite vast and infinite in all of its aspects and ultimately beyond human perception in its entirety, for the human mind only focuses on an aspect of the infinite at any given moment. Although we have no real way of knowing if energy exists and operates in all realms of creation as we know and understand energy in physical creation, there are two assumptions that can be made. One, it is reasonable to assume that whatever gives rise to energy from the no-thing-ness and no form out of which creation arises has its equivalent of energy. That is, there is something within the no-thing-ness of creation which has the attributes of energy. As such, anything a human perceives about the unseen or other realms of creation will be processed similar to the human mind's experiencing of energy. The only problem here is that the human mind that experiences some energy or its equivalent existing outside of physical creation may, and most probably, will not have adequate experience and understanding to fully and accurately characterize what is experienced. At best, the best it can do is relate what is experienced to what the human mind knows and has experienced. As such, it will use analogies, similes, stories, and the like to best approximate what mind perceives. So, from the creativity perspective, and a way of looking at creation relative to the mud or the stuff out of which creation arises, everything arises, for lack of a better word, from a oneness and substance which cannot be adequately described. But in its essence, it gives rise to what humans experience as energy, consciousness, and a field of infinite possibilities. It has been described as a quantum field in science and a place of no-thing-ness or no form in mysticism, yet it gives rise to the form we experience as creation. The concepts of consciousness and energy have been briefly discussed above, and probably both have been understood in some way in the human experience for centuries, if not millennium. Although the concepts of the no-thingness out of which creation arises has been in the mystical literature for centuries, if not millennium, nothing was found by me or brought to my attention to suggest the concept of no-thingness being a field or the no-thingness functioning like the field as discussed in modern science. Although the concept of a field may have existed earlier, the concept of the existence of a field, as in an electromagnetic field, which exists that could permeate all of creation, appears to have its origin with Ørsted, discovered in 1820, and subsequent work by Faraday around 1825. Then, in 1864, Maxwell first formulated the fundamental equations of electromagnetism, giving rise to seeing energy as waves. The understanding of an electromagnetic field spanning all of creation made it much easier for physicists to talk about a mathematical wave function which gave rise to a field of infinite possibilities arising out of and described as a quantum field in science to be accepted. To physicists, the field is something that is spread everywhere throughout the universe and is something that takes a particular value at every point in space, and a value can change in time. The analogous field in mysticism has been called a place of no-thingness or no form. Whether seen as a no-thingness or field of infinite possibilities, it is what gives rise to the form we experience as creation. In any case, the concepts of a field implies a something that nothingness does not. What is important here is to understand is the human mind, limited in its understanding, may never fully correctly understand the infinity of creation and what underlies the infinite unseen and how it works. But what we can say is what we perceive as consciousness, energy, and a field of infinite possibilities has no form or is a no-thingness which all form arises. In this regard, the word no form is a little more accurate than a place of no-thingness. In looking at energy consciousness, the journey of exploration into our creativity revealed a dance between energy and consciousness. From the creativity perspective, you can consider energy and consciousness as different perspectives of the same material. That is, within energy is a consciousness, and within consciousness is energy. This actually makes sense in that one of the definitions of energy is the ability to make something happen. When we are conscious and aware of something, we have the ability to affect it and make something happen as a result of that awareness. When viewed internally, we experience consciousness. When viewed externally, we experience a flow of energy. This gives rise to the cause-effect relationship between energy and consciousness. It is that when we are conscious and aware, we can choose to access different energies, which gives rise to the different experiences that energy provides. Or we can feel a flow of energy and become the cause that results in some conscious experience of creation or awakens ourselves to something of which we were previously unaware. This is in fact what creation and creativity is all about. For our consciousness to generate a thought of something not previously seen or experienced can give rise to an energy to physically express that thought. Similarly, when we are impacted by a flow of energy, we can become conscious and aware of the information within that energy and gives rise to the thoughts that we have, or we can simply be awakened to something not previously experienced. For example, consider the first time you see sunlight passing through a crystal and see it separate into the rainbow of colors. The experience of seeing the light separate into colors, which is an experience of energy, causes us to become aware and conscious of the light. In seeing the light separate, we can have a variety of new thoughts about light and possibilities of what can be done with the light. Often, when one does access information which has not previously been experienced, it can take years for the individual to get the experience it needs to understand what was accessed. Often just focusing on what was felt in the experience will cause thoughts, insights, and synchronicities to arise from the state of no-thingness. In this cause-effect relationship of energy and consciousness, it can be noted that any focus of our attention and awareness with some passion can pull to us an energy that addresses what we desire or cause an energy flow to arise to address what we desire. Most would call what is received as an intuitive type insight, intuition, or some communication with the unseen, however one perceives the unseen to communicate with them. If the focus of our attention and awareness accesses an existing flow of energy, it would be acting analogous to a tuned radio receiver. If the focused attention and awareness caused a flow of energy to arise that did not previously exist, it could be caused a causal consciousness in the cause-effect relationship in the dance between energy and consciousness. In closing this discussion from the creativity perspective, there are 3 observations that have been very useful. One is to see the awareness as existing like a wave permeating all of creation, and it can be localized anywhere in creation. The second is to see energy as a form of consciousness that carries information and can be accessed with the right receiver. That is, the focus of our attention and awareness and our mindset to see it as simply energy, as information carried, or as an entity communicating to us. After all, we need to realize we too are energy beings that can communicate. As stated, to become a conscious creator and deal with the creating new solutions not previously experienced where mind has no experience, we must move past the machine-like functions of our being. As a starting point to become a conscious creator, it is to understand the deeper relationship between energy and consciousness. This then gives rise to the third observation. There are facets of energy and consciousness that are not effectively understood, but can greatly affect our creativity, creative imagination, and our lives. The facets of energy and consciousness not effectively understood, which most significant for our creativity, are presented in the discussion topic, Back to Basics Part 2, Anomalies of Energy and Consciousness.